Hello everybody, Eric with Solobox out in the shop today. So I just finished another project. This one I put off for a long time because I didn't know if I would be able to do this or not. So basically, since buying this machine, I've always had to use multiple small teeth to make the wider bends. I always wanted just one big tooth so that I could get an accurate bend all the way across the piece of metal, but that was going to involve trying to take a big piece of metal and machine it into a tooth. Now there's a lot going on with these because you've got this angle here. It's got to be exactly right. And these two surfaces, the top and the bottom, have to be running exactly parallel. Like you got to just basically, you really got to nail things. And although I do have a milling machine, I'm not actually a machinist. Actually, I'll take that back. I am now a machinist. So I went out and bought a big piece of metal and decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I'll see if I can't pull it off. Man, I nailed it. Look how the ones that came with the machine are just a flat piece of stock that comes down. What I ended up doing was buying a much thicker piece of metal. I nailed the angle just right, and I built it so that it's got a notch. But the thing is, man, I just nailed it so that everything fits like a glove, like it wraps right around this part of the beam. Best bends I've ever gotten out of. I've owned quite a number of brakes over the years. This is a good tool, but I mean, it's Chinese, and anytime you buy a Chinese tool, basically you have to make it kind of what you want. And so basically, to make a long story short, I built this and now I am getting just stellar bends where what's always been the issue is that the bend starts out at one, you might have it perfectly. This is a perfect 45. It might be perfect 45 on this side, but what I'd always get is like 46 and a quarter over here. Like it wouldn't, and then you would take this and measure the center of the bend. Usually it wouldn't be nice and crisp through the center. It would be kind of lazy through here. You might have the 45, 45, and just a little under throughout the middle. Man, this is measured with that all the way across, just absolutely perfect. So part of what I'm doing now, I'm really thrilled that I got this built because I put it off for several years wanting to do this, but not thinking I could pull it off. So now that I've got it, I have to go through and recalibrate all of the stops. So this stuff is all stuff that I built. I'll show you really quick how it works. So when you pull up on the bar, this is set for a 45 to stop. And that 45, by the way, depending on the width of the piece of metal, the stop would be in a different spot. So for top box 45s are all about the same length. And so what I've got in here now is the yellow stop for a top box 45. I finally welded myself a little wrench on here because I'm always going over across the shop to dial these in. Sometimes the stop has to occur a little bit sooner and sometimes a little bit later. So basically I put that on there so that I can adjust this on the fly just real quick without walking over to the bench and changing it. So because of the new tooth, I'm having to go through and recalibrate all of these as I go along. As I use each one, I know that I'm going to have to take a piece of scrap that's the right width, cut a piece of scrap that's the right width, scribe a mark on it, and bend it and make sure that I'm dialed in before I start bending on parts. So I just did this 45. These are two top boxes that I'm getting ready to bend up. I'm getting ready to do the 45s on those. So it's dialed in, man. These are the best bends I've ever gotten by a long shot. So I'm really thrilled about this because I have, over the years, just all but pulled my hair out messing with stuff. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of time I put into just trying to get a good crisp bend. So the setup to do that angle, I ended up going and buying this little angle vise at the Harbor Freight. You can tilt this. The setup that I had to go through on the mill to try to get that angle. So I have that vise in the center, but it's got stick out on both ends. And rigidity is everything in machining. And so not the most rigid setup. I just had to take my time. And I kept pulling it off and having to test to make sure I'm where I need to be, and then rebolt the piece back onto here and indicate it in and make sure it's nice and straight. This is to within like a thousandths or two of both surfaces being perfectly parallel to one another, and that angle being just right, the pocket where it wraps around the beam. I had never done bolts that had to sit below the below the surface also. That's actually the only thing on this that doesn't look absolutely really good as this one. I got the hole just a hair off center when I did the countersinking. I had never countersunk bolts before, so that was a new operation for me. So anyway, I learned a lot about machining metal and my capabilities to do it. I thought yesterday that I had cooked my servo. This is a real deal American-made servo. You can buy Chinese crap for like 150 bucks. This is about $900, and yesterday I was working and I thought I cooked the motor in it. What I learned is that it's got a little circuit breaker over here, and the breaker had popped, and so I'm grateful. Man, running this without that sucks. And so to finish this up, the last number of cuts, last like 2 or 3 cuts, I had to all do manually with this, which gets old fairly quickly. Thinking that I had cooked the servo, I ended up watching some YouTube videos, and I was like, maybe there's something more to this. I saw a couple that had switches on the bottom of them. This one doesn't have that, but it did have like that little circuit breaker thing. So anyway, I'm happy that that's working. Asher and I are getting ready to go on a short vacation over to Idaho. We're going to do some gold prospecting and paint a house for an old Solobox customer while we're over there. So it's going to be like a working vacation. I've got to get out 1 top box and a split set of cases before I can leave town. So that's what I'm about today, is try to get that stuff finished being bent up, welded, and then run through powder and assembled and shipped. So probably the next couple of days I'll be able to get out of here. Obviously we're gonna have to take the truck because we have to bring all the tools, but it should be a fun little trip. Maybe I'll check in with you guys while we're on vacation. Eric with Solobox. Ride safe, everybody. I will talk to y'all later.